Welcome to the Adult Education and Workforce Development Statewide webinar for October 11th, 2023. I am Jerry Hafner, and joining me today is the Adult Education team and some very special guests. Let's first begin today with performance. During the IAACE conference, our good friend Matt submitted the snapshots to the U.S. Department of Education. This is our state's official record for program year 2022. And here are the final stats. Enrollment was up by 2,800 students, a 14% increase when compared to the snapshot for program year 2021. Measurable skill gains in HFCs were up as well. HSEs were up by 350. Measurable skill gains were up by nearly a percentage point over the previous year. For this current year that began on July 1st of 2023, enrollment is up by 1,450 students. This is a 17% increase when compared to the same time a year ago. Measurable skill gains are up 4 percentage points, and HSEs are up by over 110. I know that Jen plans to mention the IAACE awards during her presentation at the end of the program today, but I wanted to mention one special award that was given at the conference. Rosalie Hooten has been in adult education, as you can see on the screen, for almost 50 years. She taught in the program at Southeastern Career Center when they had an adult education program, and more recently at the Greensburg Learning Center in Greensburg for McDowell Education Center. According to a story that was published in the Greensburg Daily News several years ago, Rosalie started in adult education because it was something that she could do in the evenings. This way, her husband could watch their 3 children in the evenings. She and her husband both went to Purdue University, and he was a pastor at Bernie Baptist Church. During her career, Rosalie, get this, Rosalie was a volunteer firefighter and EMT for the little community of Bernie, and in her spare time, she worked part-time at the Greensburg Library. In addition to teaching, she also assisted with the professional development project at the state level as a trainer of new teachers, of new adult education teachers. The lead paragraph of the newspaper story said, Rosalie helps the community find books, receive GEDs, and put out fires. I do a little bit of everything, she joked with the newspaper writer. And Rosalie, because she's retiring, she doesn't plan to let the dust settle. She's heading west with plans to do some very serious hiking. Rosalie, on behalf of the state and all of the adult education community, thank you so much for your dedicated service to adult education. Turning to JAG and Youth Adult Services, Bart Doan is here with updates. Welcome, Bart.
Hey, thanks, Jerry. Just have a few updates to give. We can go to the next slide. Alrighty, so just a reminder, I know I mentioned it at the last AE webinar, JAG is expanding. It's being doubled by the end of Governor Holcomb's term in 2025. So those are sort of the goals that we have set for spring, fall, and spring. So how can you help? Just sharing some of our JAG Indiana social media posts and articles. There's been a lot of media around on expansion as it relates to the governor's objectives, some of our data and our metrics. So we post on social almost daily. So please share those if you're on some of those platforms. We also were part of a Indiana Association of State Principals podcast, so certainly share that if you can. And we've been in the latest DOE newsletter as well from Katie Jenner. If you know of somebody interested in a JAG program in your travels across the state, or you just hear someone ask about it or mention it, please just have them reach out to us. We'll answer any questions they have about expansion or just JAG in general. And then certainly, as you always do, reaching out to those JAG non-graduates. There aren't many of them. That's a good thing. Most of our students graduate, but keep reaching out to them and getting them in AE classes so they can get their diplomas. Next slide. All right, so this is the last slide for me, but some other JAG and youth items. We're excited to announce that Indiana is going to have their first ever state career association. So each JAG program within their schools has a career association. It's made up of students who elect their own peers as leaders, presidents, vice presidents, treasurers, and so on. And those are the students that lead sort of the service learning and community assistance objectives that they do within the classroom. And now we're doing that for the entire state. So it'll be a career association that sort of drives the service learning projects and is a very public facing group for JAG Indiana on a student level. So it's obviously made up of JAG Indiana students. Finalist forms and materials are due on October 13th, and then we will vote, or the committee will vote on October 31st on Halloween to decide who will be part of the JAG State Career Association. So there'll be some media and some press releases regarding that. But we have students from really almost every region across the state. So there's possibly a student in your area that's going to be on that career association. One thing of note, our annual Young Adult Services Summit, which AE staff is always a huge part of, whether it's presenting or attending, that's postponed for 2023 in light of the JAG expansion. It's a large project, so we will have some PD opportunities for those young adult services staff. There will be more of a virtual model, but please stay tuned. We may be reaching out to you for some potential ideas and some potential partnership on what those professional development ideas look like. The last thing to note is another one of a JAG item, and it's JAG's looking to partner. We will be partnering, not looking to partner. We will be partnering with Ivy Tech to look at dual credit opportunities in specific areas where they're already offering dual credits, so students can get an Ivy Tech IVY 101 credit with participating in JAG. It's a 16-hour course. So that's all I got, Jerry. Any questions, just reach out to me.
You betcha. Thank you so much, Bart. Moving on. As a state, we were required to submit earlier this month our proposed program year 2024 assessment policy to the U.S. Department of Education for review and approval. The assessment policy is for the period of July 1st of 2024 and runs through June 30th of 2025. The current policy for program year 2023, which runs through the end of this program year, June 30th of 2024, is unchanged and is on our website. But for 2024, program year 2024, TABE 11 and 12 is approved for all learners in the state adult education program. Assessments for English language learners, our ELL learners, are to be determined for program year 2024 and will be identified before the start of the next program year. The current TABE Class E expires on June 30th of 2024. And the test vendor, DRC, Data Recognition Corporation, has submitted a new TABE, TABE 13 and 14, as well as a new TABE, TABE Class E, Forms C and D, to USDOE for review and approval. A decision is expected by spring, and then at that time, we will update our assessment policy for next program year and share that with you. In the meantime, we're adding for program year 2024 some new assessments in addition to TABE. The following assessments will be approved for use beginning July 1, 2024. ACT Work Keys Applied Math, Forms 14, 15, 16, and 17 will be approved for all learners in the state adult education program. and ACT Work Keys Workplace Documents, Forms 18, 19, 20, and 21 will also be approved for all learners in the state adult education program in literacy, English language arts at ABE levels 2 through 6. So workplace documents forms 18 through 21 will be approved in literacy, English language arts at ABE levels 2 through 6. And then the work keys applied math forms 14, 15, 16, and 17 will also be approved, as I said. Martha Finch Anderson is here today to discuss these new assessments. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you, Jerry. Good to be with you this morning. Marilyn and Jerry reached out once they announced work keys being used for NRS testing to give you an idea of how work keys is being used now with DWD and how we can transition into using that in the ABE realm. And I'm going to give you a little bit of information on what we're doing in workforce arenas with work keys and how we can apply that to adult education. I am Martha Finch Anderson. I've been with the agency for a number of years. And if you've got a question about work keys, I'm your gal, okay? My contact information is available within the system. I've got it up there on the screen. Certainly let me know if you've got questions concerning work keys or when, and I'll do my best to provide what you need. Next screen. To give you an idea of what we're doing now with work keys, the jobs program provides work keys job profiling assessments to qualified employers who want to make better decisions about their hires. The products that we use in the work keys system is work keys job profiling, which takes a deep dive into the skills and skill levels needed for a job. So we can, in turn, assess applicants for those skills and know that we send employer skill matches for the jobs that they have open. To let you know, one key thing about work keys, and I think something that will be very beneficial for your adult education populations, is that work keys is in a workplace context. The questions and the learning are both in a workplace context, which seems to identify, or adult learners seem to identify with, and perhaps transition their learning a little easier because it's activities they've done or they may be doing on their job. So we know that everything in the work keys suite of products is going to be in a workplace context. With the job profiling go the assessments. They target communication, problem solving, interpersonal skills, and we'll go over those in a bit more detail. To demonstrate workplace readiness, we have what's called the National Career Readiness Certificate, which is mastery in workplace skills at different levels. We have bronze through platinum levels of ability in the National Career Readiness Certificates. And we can talk about that again, which is a great workforce tool for your adult learners to take with them once they start their job search activities. Again, all the components speak the same workplace context language. So when we talk about what a job profile results are, the assessments measure that very same thing. So a level 5 math, perhaps in job profiling, is the same thing as what is assessed in the applied math assessments. So we get that connection with the applicants and what's needed on the job. Next screen. Just to summarize a bit, and this could be, I think, really helpful to adult ed teachers, work one counselors, using occupational database information, which you'll have access to from ACT. The blue blocks in this graph demonstrate the findings of tens of thousands of job profiles as, let's use, for example, a nurse might need those 4 skills at those levels. That's the benchmark for that occupation. An applicant or a learner may take the assessments needed and come up with the results that you see, the beige or light brown results. That's their test scores. Okay, the magic is those gold blocks where we now see, according to either a job profile or the occupational database results, where the skill gaps are for that learner. So we can see where we need to target their training. We can see if it's realistic, if get an idea of how much training they're in store for, or what is the training even going to be in? Is it something that they excel at or they even want to do? So there's a lot of information we can get from those occupational profile results as well as the learner test results. Next screen. The WorkKeys assessments that we refer to, again, are broken down into communication skills. That's the workplace documents, the reading comprehension, making decisions based on what you've read in a work environment. Problem solving is where we have our math, technology, workplace observation, and graphic literacy. Graphic literacy is reading charts, diagrams, computer screens, those kinds of things, which we all do every day on our job. And then the National Career Readiness Assessments that we talked about. ACT took a look at the tens of thousands of job profiles that they have in their database, and they tried to find a common thread. What skills are found in just about every job? We found about 85% of the jobs need applied math, workplace documents, and graphic literacy. So ACT has transformed a workplace credential called the National Career Readiness Certificate of achievement in those 3 skills. They're found in most of the world of work to varying degrees. And again, you can earn a bronze, you can earn a silver, a gold, or a platinum level certificate. A great tool for a job seeker to put in their toolbox. That's for taking the WorkKeys assessments. Next screen. Specifically for the NRS assessments, as Jerry had mentioned, the workplace documents assessment, again, written text. You've got a bit of a description there. To give you a heads up on what you can expect on these assessments, they will be online. I think ACT is working on a bilingual version of that, but there are specific forms of the assessments that the NRS has approved. So they will be specifically identified in the WorkKeys software as such as NRS workplace documents or NRS applied math. So you'll see those specifically, and they did want to kind of limit the exposure to these specific assessments, but there'll be test and retest versions of them. And then while in the workplace, we typically use level scores of WorkKeys assessments. For NRS purposes, you'll be using scale scores, and those are available through the testing software, just so you can see those increments and compare them to the levels on the chart I'm going to show you in a minute. 35 questions about for both of them. Again, you'll probably chunk out an hour for each assessment because there's a bit of a tutorial at the beginning of each assessment online. And then pretty much an hour to take the assessments. They are proctored and they need to be given in that kind of situation. Okay. Next screen. This is the chart that the NRS has released. Again, it's got the forms on there that Jerry had mentioned, and those scale scores that pertain to the different EFLs. So when you get your assessment results, you'll know specifically where that student falls in what level based on, and I like that with the scale scores, you'll know, you'll have some information within that level where they're falling, how close they are to achieving the next highest level. And that this, I'm sure, will be something that you'll see many times in the future. Next screen. One thing I want to be sure that you're aware of, and I hope most of you are aware what the Win Career courseware is and that you have it available to you and your students. For students that haven't taken the WorkKeys previously, it is a little bit different than an academic-based assessment. It's presented differently, and you do take the full range of the scores in one assessment. For instance, you don't take a level 3 test. You take one test and you get level 3 through level 7 questions on it. Okay, so a great way to prepare students for the Win Career courseware, and we've seen it drastically improve outcomes on the WorkKeys test, is to prepare them with the Win Career courseware. It is an online remediation and learning tool. You probably know that it is a distance learning option in the reading and the math for adult education. But I want you to know it also has reading and math fundamentals options in the academic skills product that we have within WIN. We have unlimited licenses, no cost to the user. You simply have to request access from your Work One contact that manages WIN or from me. The website on the screen contains an enrollment form. It's a request form that after you complete, either your students or you, it comes to me and I reply with your access information. If you can't copy down that link that's on the screen, go to the DWD website and search for WIN, and the site will come up for you. Also know that the WIN contains content on digital literacy, which I can tell you if you've got learners who are still approaching their learning in digital literacy, it is a very much a beginning level instruction on digital literacy skills. Nobody's going to learn how to use Word or Excel on digital literacy. This is what the internet is. This is what a modem is. This is how you communicate professionally, that kind of thing. So I do encourage you to look at the digital literacy for your customers who are still developing those skills. Soft skills is on there. I think most of you are aware of that. And the testing for both certificates and credentials in soft skills is available to our adult ed users of WIN. And of course, we have college readiness modules for your folks who are thinking about post-secondary education, so they can get an idea of the skills that are needed on those college entrance exams and better prepare themselves for taking those kinds of tests. Again, WIN is there at your request. Reach out to me and let me know if you need access, so we can set that up for you or your students right away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martha. Great information, and I'm sure there will be a lot of folks reaching out to you. So we'll continually share your email and your contact information. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, moving on, we have another colleague here at DWD, Victoria, and she is here today to share information about the Senior Community Service Employment Program. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it. I'm here to talk about CSIP, the small little program that might be able to help your program out. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, what is CSIP? CSIP is the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which is funded by the Department of Labor. And what we do with CSIP is basically a paid work experience or a work training for people that are ages 55 and older, that are low income and desire employment. The whole goal of this program is unsubsidized employment, but we do realize that people do need to hone, beef up their skills, get that job experience. A lot of people retired during the pandemic are now realizing that they do need to come back to work. And again, we pay the participants a wage for their work training. And what we are currently seeking now with the CSIP program are host site providers. Next slide, please. Okay, you can see CSIP is pretty much all over the state of Indiana. Where you see the red hearts, that's where we have CSIP programming available. And as I mentioned before, our program is currently seeking host providers that are interested in welcoming one of our participants into their environment to teach them skills that will prepare them for unsubsidized employment in the near future. We are looking for host providers that can provide 20 plus hours per week of work. This could be a front office person, it could be a classroom assistant, it could be a facilities person. We're pretty flexible in regards to the different career paths for this program. We just want to get these folks back out working, being part of society, and help supplement their income. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is a host provider work site exactly? They must be a 501c3 nonprofit or government agency where job seekers can be placed on a work training assignment for a minimum of 20 hours per week. Now, that time is negotiable. We have had some of our participants work more hours a week. We stay away from full time, of course. And we've also had some of our participants be assigned to a location for a year or more. So this is not a quick, turn and burn type of work experience. It is a dedicated experience, more on the long-term side of things. Now, the host provider site does not employ or pay the participant, but has agreed to be a work training site with the state of Indiana's CSIP program. Next slide, please. Our new provider this year is Vantage Aging, and they're based out of Ohio. We're very happy to welcome Vantage Aging into Indiana, and they are our frontline service provider. And as you can see, kind of echoing the previous slide, we are in 37 different counties in the state of Indiana. And on this flyer, you see a little bit more information about what it takes to be a host site provider. Again, we cover the pay, we cover workman's comp, insurance, that kind of thing. We handle the payroll. There's really no cost or contribution except for time and caring for the mission of these participants learning, upskilling, to eventually place them into unsubsidized employment. Next slide, please. The responsibilities of the host site provider: complete a little bit of paperwork. There's always paperwork in our line of our line of work, interview potential workers for the available positions. We really want the host site provider to have a say, and we want our participants to go through that interviewing process um, for the full experience. And if someone is interviewed and the host provider's like, I think I would like to continue to interview other people regarding this paid work experience placement, we're okay with that. We understand that not every shoe fits. Okay, again, as I mentioned, provide at least 20 plus hours of work, provide on-the-job training, supervision, goal of growing the worker's confidence and skills, approve and submit bi-weekly timesheet to our provider Vantage Aging, and everything is pretty much digital. We be willing to share success stories about how the participant has benefited your organization, and to be open to pre-scheduled visits by Vantage or the state of Indiana to check on worker for relationship building purposes. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's pretty much CSEP in a nutshell. If you are interested in your agency or division in participating and helping to find these fine folks, paid work experience, job training, please reach out to me. Here's my contact information below on this slide. I would love to talk to you a little bit more about this. And thank you so much for inviting me to your meeting today. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Victoria. Just while we have you here, a couple of comments, one a question, the other is a comment. The first is a comment from our friend Trent Moore at Indy Reads. He writes in the chat, Indy Reads is a host site for CSEP trainees, and we love the program and the folks we are working with. We highly recommend partnering with CSEP. And then the question to you comes from our friend Rob Moore. Victoria, what are the qualifications for an individual to be a CSEP participant?
Okay, to be a participant, it's the typical things: low income. You have to be a resident of the county that we serve. So going back to that map with the hearts in it, those are the counties we serve. We do share the state with other providers. So sometimes it can get a little confusing on who does what, but where you see that red heart, the participant has to be a resident of that county, low income, a resident of Indiana, and I think that's it. Yeah. Residency, low income, age. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very
Pretty
good.
simple.
Pretty simple. Well, thank you again, Victoria, for sharing the information about your program. And they have your contact information, and they certainly, I'm sure, can reach out to you and with any questions. So thank you again.
Okay. And one last thing. I just saw a question pop up. At the bottom of this last slide, you'll see a web address that has the in.gov, DWD Job Seekers CSEP. You can also find that heart map on that page, along with more information regarding participants and for host site providers.
Okay, very good.
Thank-
Couple other questions. You
Oh.
were popular. Age requirements for CSEP, and another question is, does that mean if there is no red chart, we cannot participate?
Okay, if there is no red heart in your
Mhm.
county, that means that the state of Indiana does not serve that county, but there could be AARP, Goodwill, CWI. I could definitely tell you who is in your county if you want to shoot me an email. That would probably be the easiest way to figure that out, is just to hit me up, email me, and I will be more than happy to tell you. And the age is 55 and older, and you must be unemployed. You have to be unemployed. I left that one out too.
Okay, very good. Well, again, thank you so much. Lots of good questions, and if there are additional questions, as I said earlier, they'll be emailing you. You'll be hearing from them. So, all righty. Well, let's
Thank
move
you.
on. Laura's here today, and she's going to share some information about internationally trained professionals and a digital literacy PD opportunity, as well as other information. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you, Jerry. Lots of information to share today. Next slide, please. Starting off, let's recognize the inaugural recipients of the Programs of Excellence. We had a great ceremony at the IAACE Awards Night banquet. So this is a list of the 17 providers of the ABE grant who were recognized as Programs of Excellence. So good job. Next slide, please. And on this slide are the 6 IDOC sites that were recognized as Programs of Excellence. So great work, everyone. Really wonderful to recognize those programs. And let's move on because that was 22-23, and now we are into 23-24. A lot of people have asked, what are the criteria for getting a Program of Excellence designation for this program year, and here it is on this slide. Very similar to last year, you must meet both of the metrics in column A, which is an enrollment and MSG goal. So you should have received your enrollment goal earlier this year, usually in June, definitely by July. And then our MSG gains, you must be at 69% or higher, and that is the federal goal. So we do not set that at the state level, but that is 69%. This is part of your PDF plans as well. And then we go to column B, where you must meet 2 of the 4 metrics in column B to be a Program of Excellence. So with HSEs, you need to be 10% over your total goal of HSEs from the previous year, and that is on your program snapshot, which is now available. Column F at the bottom of the program F, you have your total HSEs for the year. Distance learning, a program must have a percentage of distance learners at 50% or higher compared to their total enrollment. That is not table 4C, that is on the distance learning report in enters. Next is career certifications or IETs, and you need to increase your enrollments, total enrollments by 10% with 90% completion and certification rates. And just a side note on that 90%, that's where we were last year as a state. So this is not asking people to go significantly above, but if your program is a little bit below that, you can definitely work on meeting those metrics to make sure that you have that IET covered. And then lastly, WEI. And this is a little bit different than what was put out on the PDF report because there are some different kind of combinations on the PDF report, but we wanted to make it very objective so that programs can clearly understand whether or not they're meeting this metric. So a program must have a minimum of 2 WEI partnerships, and those are submitted and approved by Roy Melton and designated in the InterSystem as a WEI, and then also increase WEI enrollment by 10% over the previous year. Where you can find reporting and metrics on the IETs and WEIs is in the local reports tab in Enters, and then you go to IET monthly data. If you have questions on how you gauge where your program's at on any of these metrics, please reach out to me or Amy Raymer or Matt or Anshu. So please don't wonder if you're curious and you're not sure where to find it, please reach out so that you can be tracking these throughout the year. Next slide, please. And as we mentioned, program 22-23 is over, so we have lots of reporting to share with you on data. One of our new data points is native language, and we shared some information in this last November as we started collecting data, and now we have the total year snapshot. So native language with all programs for 22-23, 43% are non-English native language students compared to 57% English. And what's really interesting is when we drop out the the Department of Corrections out of this total, it shifts to 48% non-English and 52% English. And just so you know, the Department of Corrections makes up approximately 10% of the total students of our total enrollment. And the IDOC is overwhelmingly native English speakers. It's like 98% English. And since that's over 2,000 students, we thought it would be interesting to look at what happens when we drop that subset out. And like I said, it takes us very close to 50% non-English speakers and 52% English speakers. So very close to 50% there. Next slide, please. Now we're looking at by language, native language other than English. And you can see that it's overwhelmingly Spanish next to English. Obviously, if we're looking at about 52% native English speakers, you're looking at a little over 11,000 since our total was over 22,000. Next is Spanish for 5,838 of our students, and then it drops to Haitian Creole, French, Burmese, and then a lot of different languages. We will be doing this at the program level and sharing this in regional meetings, but this is what the state snapshot looks like. Next slide, please. And while native language is part of understanding who our students are, another important data element is native country other than the United States. And this is where it gets interesting, because when we see Spanish, I think a lot of us naturally assume it's Mexico, but students who are native to Mexico make up less than half of the Spanish speakers in our program. Conversely, when we combine a lot of the Haitian Creole and French, that comes to a much larger number of people in our programs who are originally from Haiti, over 1,700 students last year. And from what I'm hearing from programs this year, that could be an even larger number. And then Venezuela, which has experienced a lot of political turmoil. So we're getting a lot of immigrants from Venezuela. So over 1,200 of our students in the previous program year were from Venezuela. And then we have a handful of countries from Central and South America, and they're all Spanish speakers as well. We have Burma up there with 400. And then we have, a different, lots of different countries that are represented. And then if we look at Ukraine, which is obviously a new population for many of us, there were 126 students, program year 22-23, and then over 100 students from Afghanistan in our programs. Like I said, lots of diversity. We had over 1,500 students in that other category, and that is countries that had less than 100 students represented. So lots of information we'll be sharing out with the field in the weeks and months to come. Next slide, please. As Jerry mentioned, the internationally trained professionals is a student population we've been tracking as it has been trending higher. If we look at a 10-year trend on these students, and just real quick, a definition of internationally trained professionals are students who have a college or professional degree from another country. So non-US based college or professional degree. So this is not high school level. This is not some college or an associate's. This is what we would consider a bachelor's or a professional level, like a lawyer or a doctor. So this number has been trending significantly higher over the last 10 years. If we look 10 years ago, we had approximately 420 students who fit this definition, and now we're over 2,200. So that is an increase of 5-fold over the last 10 years. Next slide, please. And when we look at it as a comparison to programs in the Midwest and the total US data, the national data, most recent data that's available in that region and national area is from 21-22, and Indiana had 8.7% of their total student population as an ITP. But if we update that with our 22-23 numbers, it is 10% of all our students. Not of the students in ELL or TABE Class C, it is 10% of all students. So this is a growing number that we're really trying to better understand. Feedback we're getting from our programs has is that students, especially from Haiti and Venezuela, are much more likely to have this higher level of education. So they may be fueling some of the growth that we're seeing, but it really helps us understand how to better prepare bridge programs and IETs for these professionals. Next slide, please. We just started collecting beginning July 1st, the sector of these ITPs. That means when you go in and check that a student has a college or professional level degree and enters, and you check non-US base, you will be prompted to enter a sector. This is required so that we once again better understand how to serve these students. Right now, as of the first quarter, these are the top 4 sectors that are representing these students: business management and administration, education and training, health sciences, and information technology. So we'll be tracking this as the year goes on. So please remember to enter that data. Next slide, please. And lastly, there is a professional development opportunity for digital literacy through the Digital Resilience in the American Workforce, what's being called the DRAW initiative. Indiana has been selected as a state to participate in this training, which will start late February and run through April. We already have one program that is committed to this training. What we are looking for is a second. So if you feel like your program would benefit from national level coaching and training in digital literacy and best practice and national resources, please reach out to me. We need 2 instructors on staff to participate. And most importantly, maybe, is that DWD will provide funding for that teacher time to participate. So we will provide additional money to pay your teachers to participate. All the training sessions will be virtual. And once again, this is best practice on a federal level for improving digital literacy skills. So if you are interested, please reach out to me for more information. And that is all I have. On to Camelia.
All right, good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to review and remind you all about the dates for our grant competition town hall meetings for the sessions that have not happened already. I'm going to recap some of what I shared on my IAACE presentation, and finally, we'll find out this month's Outreach Superstar. So for those of you who have not had a chance to check out our website where we have the schedule of the town halls posted, you can access this here. If you don't have access to a phone to scan the QR code, the slides will be sent out after this presentation. So upcoming town halls to date, we have Region 5 tomorrow. And as you can see, then we have our Region 8 as well as Region 4 coming up still. And then a handful of town halls still to go in November. So again, even if though you're already a provider, it's still valuable to attend these sessions to get a refresher about how the grant competition works. And your attendance at these sessions is important because asking questions about the grant process becomes more difficult once the grant is released. So in my IAACE presentation, I had the chance to share and get feedback on our adult learner dashboard, which was a place where you could see a bunch of different data sets about our adult learners from the last program year. And thank you to those of you who attended that session and provided valuable feedback. Your changes are being taken into account. But some of the reasons that we need a dashboard are because it aligns with NRS guidance via their webinars and training materials that they make available. It helps us understand our student outcomes and learn for areas of growth. And most importantly, it provides insight about how we can better execute our plans to have successful adult education programs. So here's a quick look at the dashboard right now. It's not available publicly yet because we're still integrating your feedback and suggestions, especially adding in more data about IET and WEIs. So look forward to this once it's available on our website. And if you have questions about this or you weren't able to attend my presentation and would like a copy of the slides, please let me know. Finally, congratulations to Wagler Education and Training Center, this month's Outreach Superstar. If you do not follow them on Facebook, definitely do so. They consistently and regularly post awesome content about their students and graduates, and they have a great website that's really easy to use, and students can fill out a pre-registration form online. All right, next up, we will hear from Rob Moore.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I have been actually, my picture shows my trip to the Grand Canyon about a month ago. That's where I was. But anyway, since I've been back, I've been continuing to meet with our new program directors this month and continuing on through a regular basis throughout the year. However, I've also been meeting with some not so new directors, and many of them, maybe like you, are looking for someone to shake out some ideas with a guy like me who's kind of been there. So please feel free to contact me if you're a not so new director and would like that service. Of course, it's free of charge to you. And my contact information is there on the right, either email or phone. I'm certainly available to you with some funding from DWD Adult Education to IAACE. So thanks for both those organizations for partnering for this project. Just to give you an idea, some things I've helped with recently are IET and WEI ideas, branding, marketing, and recruiting ideas, efficient and effective staffing. Done some, I do regularly some over-the-shoulder troubleshooting with data entry and errors and inters, PABE administration, and of course, student performance and several other topics. But those are kind of the ones mostly. But again, contact me if you're a not so new director. If you are a new director, I'm personally reaching out to you anyway. So in addition to those kind of meetings and visits, I also do a monthly Minders for New Administrators document. I email that the first of the month. The last one in October was mailed on October 2nd, but again, it's available to everyone on the IAACE website at the link below, thanks to our Executive Director, Jen. So it contains a list of important meetings and tasks to accomplish in the month of October, so we don't lose track of those, as well as some other helpful tips for program administration. For example, we got a recent email from COABE, our national organization, about a great webinar series on creating an effective adult education brand. But in that email, I noticed that the dates were kind of scrambled. They kind of went back to 2022 or 23. So if you want the correct dates in one handy place, go to the monthly Minders for October 2023 on the website, and they're there. I actually went to the last webinar, the first webinar yesterday, and it was fantastic. I learned a lot that I really kind of wish I learned about 20 years ago, matter of fact. So it's a wonderful series. Finally, I'd just like to, on this slide, to welcome a few new local program directors who've joined us in recent weeks. Hello to Taylor Beller, who has been named Director of Adult Education at the Blue River Career Services in Shelbyville. I'd like to welcome Danielle McGee, the new Adult Education Director at Martin University in Indianapolis. Look forward to meeting you real soon. And finally, not really a new director per se, but Deb Sherwood, previously Adult Education Director at Plymouth, is now the interim director serving in the Elkhart Community School Corporation. So welcome back, Deb. We're glad to have you back. Okay, next slide. Okay, so finally, for my part today, is the upcoming grant competition making you a little nervous? Maybe not feeling like if I write something, will be up to snuff to be a successful application. I've never written a major grant like that before. Or maybe you are a moderate or experienced grant writer who just wants some assurance that what you're writing is acceptable, just wants some tips. I'm going to be offering a Grant Writing 101 webinar in cooperation with IAACE on Monday, November 6th, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. You can register at that website, or Jen will send that link out, and love to have you join us and basically get some tips from me for what it's worth and we'll look at some grant application and how I answered some questions and some considerations and try to make that a really clear, concise narrative for you. So please join us on November 6th. So thank you, Jerry.
Thank you so much, Rob. Hey, that previous slide, it looks like you've been doing some consulting out west. Am I missing the mark? That doesn't look like it's Indiana terrain.
No, that's the Grand Canyon, matter of fact.
Wow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I have
Yeah.
my it looks like Octane shirt, but it's not Octane. It's, oh, I think it's a CTE shirt, t-shirt. Matter of fact, that day I do a lot of hiking back there. So it was really awesome experience.
Taking adult education to the edge, right?
Take it to the edge, right?
You bet. Thank you so much, Rob. Moving on, Donna is out today, but our friend and colleague Amy has graciously uh, said that she would do the Donna report.
Thank you, Jerry. Good morning, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. Next slide, please. So the fiscal update for program year 22-23, the state allocation was $12,600,000 as a total. As of October 6th, which was last week, $12,400,700 has been reimbursed, which means there is a remaining almost $200,000 that is yet to be reimbursed. If you have questions on getting those last $200,000 reimbursed, please reach out to Donna Lovelady so that you can get that remaining amount reimbursed for program year 22-23. Next slide, please. For HSEs, the fiscal update. Currently, the reimbursed amount is $215,643. That is also as of October 6th. We had a total of $230,000, so 83% of that has been reimbursed. So if you still have HSE funds that you have spent on your end but not reimbursed for, please submit that as soon as possible. Next slide, please. And the fiscal update for the technology grant, $257,481 was awarded across the state. 92% has been reimbursed as of October 6th for a total of $237,982. Again, please reach out to Donna if you have questions about getting those funds reimbursed.
And guess what's next? Amy, you get to be Amy this time.
And now I'm Amy. Oh, I forgot to say on Donna's behalf, reimburse, reimburse, reimburse. She usually says spend, 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 but we're changing that for today to reimburse, reimburse, reimburse. Thank you, Jerry. Next slide, please. So the adult education program development quarterly reports are starting to come around the corner. The first quarter report is due November 3rd. That is less than a month away. If you have any questions while you are working on that quarterly report, please reach out to me. I am happy to answer any questions so that you can get that report submitted in a timely fashion and as completely as possible. When you submit that quarterly report to me, please also include a success story with your quarterly report. If you are unsure how that success story should look, just remember a few key points. It should be in the student's voice. The teacher can assist the student in writing that success story, but it should be in the first person in terms of I did this, I chose my program because, etc. I have a list of questions that I can send to you if you need some suggestions on how to kind of get some creative juices flowing for your students on what they can talk about in their success story. And then again, the teacher can assist the student. So if they want their grammatical corrections made, if they want to fix some things and they want to work with their teacher to do that, and that will make the student more comfortable in submitting a story, that's perfectly fine. But it should, and you can always, as a teacher, add a few comments at the bottom, complimenting your student, talking about their endurance on, maybe being in the program longer than anticipated, and that they stuck through those difficult times to reach whatever goal they were there for. That can be added at the bottom, but the story, the main components of the story should be that first person from the student perspective. So if you could please include at least one of those success stories about your student. It can be any success. It can be a student that's struggling with algebra and they thought they never could do algebra and now they're, working at a level A in algebra or something like that. It can be an HSE, it can be an IET related, it can be a WEI related. It can be an ELL student that has made significant progress and now feels more immersed in the community that they are in. So just any story about any particular student will be wonderful for us to use. And also lastly, make sure you have a release so that we can share that story once it is sent on to us. Again, that first quarterly report is due November 3rd, and my email address is down at the bottom in case you don't have it. Then the next quarterly report will be due March 1st, and then the final reflections will be due May 31st, and I will keep sending reminders out when those dates start approaching as well. Next slide, please. The list of the professional development facilitator meetings are on the screen. We are coming up in another week or so on the October 27th meeting. That one will primarily be me. It is for mostly new teachers and new PDFs that have not been a PDF in the previous program year or previous program years. You may have not been one ever, or you may have been one before and then now you are again. And so anyone that is within your program that fits that kind of terminology of new in some fashion, whether they're a teacher, they're a PDF, even data staff are more than welcome to come. And I'm going to be talking about some of the things that we talked about in my IAACE presentation. So please feel free to share the link that will go out a couple of days again before the 27th. So please feel free to share that with any new teachers and new staff, new PDFs that you feel would be benefited by talking about some of those things to get your feet on solid ground while you're new in the program. It will again be virtual at 10 o'clock, and I will send out the link for those of you who it does not automatically save to your calendar because you're not part of Microsoft Teams. So that link will go back out again in a few days. Next slide, please. Few trainings to share with you. The Links Universal Technical Assistance has an upcoming training on October 11th. Their trainings are always from 3 to 4:30, so it makes it nice and easy to remember when those trainings will take place in the day. This upcoming one on the 11th is called Literacy Instruction, the Heart of Adult Literacy. So if you have a lot of students coming into your program, whether English is their native language or English is not their native language, literacy is a big concern in being able to make progress and move forward in whatever their goal is. So this would be a good training to watch so that you can get some tips and assistance on how to best help those adult learners that are lacking literacy to move forward as a whole in reaching their goal. Next slide, please. Workforce GPS has an upcoming training October 13th from 3 to 4:30. Again, QR code is available. Down at the bottom in the light blue is the link. So when the slides go out later today, you can click on that to get registered for the previous slide and this slide as well. They're sharing the findings from America's Promise Grant, the outcomes and the impacts of the study. So America's Promise Grant provides funding to develop and expand regional sectoral partnerships among employers, economic development agencies, workforce investment systems, and education and training providers. So that's where adult ed comes into this piece. So this might be an interesting training to watch to get an insight on the results of that study that the America's Promise Grant. It's a jobs-driven grant is what that the AP JD, the JD is jobs-driven grant. So another possible opportunity for some PD for your staff. Next slide, please. Links has another technical assistance coming in November called Promising Practices in Co-Enrollment. So one of those things that we always ask programs to try to encourage their students is to co-enroll with their local workforce development board, whether it's at the local Work One. There's some other opportunities out there as well. Being co-enrolled helps provide additional support for students that may have multiple barriers that an adult education program may not have the funding or the ability to assist with. You know, it may be we can provide a bus pass or some gas cards for students, but maybe their transportation issues go beyond that. So there are other assistance out there. So co-enrollment is an important piece that needs to happen with adult education so that we can fully support those students. So this will be a good opportunity for any staff that doesn't truly understand how those pieces fit together of adult ed and the co-enrollment in the workforce or the Work One offices. So this would be a good opportunity for those staff to kind of help pull that information together. Again, that's November 1st from 3 to 4:30. Next slide, please. Octave and Links have partnered together to create some self-paced learning modules. The list there is of the different modules. I believe each module is approximately an hour and a half and gives, you can do these kind of in any order. So if you have one particular interest, you can start with that one. It is self-paced. And so those are learning opportunities that are directly related to adult education students. So please be sure to share that information with all of your staff so that your new and your more experienced teachers have some new tools in their tool belt so that they can assist their students in the classroom. Next slide, please. And again, just one last reminder, the October 27th PDF meeting is virtual and it is at 10 a.m. And that is all I have, Jerry. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a good rest of the week.
Thank you very much, Amy. Well, let's move on. Jason Grace has been patiently waiting in New Albany for his time here. He's with the Indiana Office of Work-Based Learning and Apprenticeships, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about teaching apprenticeships. Welcome, Jason.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me again. So yeah, next slide, please. I won't take too much time today, but again, I'm Jason Graves, and teaching apprenticeships, if you have not heard about it, it is quite the hot topic at the moment. Not just the state of Indiana, but at the national level. And we have already gotten a couple of these teaching apprenticeships approved in the state of Indiana, and we are currently working with DOE, CTE, and CHE to kind of map this out a little bit better and be able to provide some direction for really anyone who is interested in this. And so we are really just scratching the surface of this thing. So if anybody has any ideas, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Next slide. So just a little reminder, why teaching? Why is it such a hot topic right now? It's really one, the need. So if you can kind of see Indiana, current projections is we're going to have thousands of jobs open nationally, about 300,000 positions short. And that's not just teaching, or that's just teaching. That's not counting paraeducators, teaching assistants, bus drivers, really the entire education ecosystem is if it's not already in a crisis, it's about to be. So currently teachers have about a 60% retention rate, about 40% or about 35% of all teachers leave in the first 5 years. That tells us a couple of things. One, that they are not prepared as well as they need to be educators. And two, there's just not enough support given to these new teachers for them to be successful. And if you compare that to registered apprenticeship typically has an 80 to 90% retention rate. So that's really, in looking at those components of apprenticeship, mentorship, relevancy, and getting paid while you learn, Those are all components that we see that can really have an added benefit. One thing I want to be clear about is apprenticeship does not replace the bachelor's degree. This does not replace the traditional path to education. That still exists and it needs to exist, all right? But what this does is this basically creates an additional opportunity for individuals who wanted to be teachers or who were interested in being in the education space, but didn't do it. We want to be able to offer them that possibility. So the two main ways we're going to do this is through pre-apprenticeship and of course, registered apprenticeship. Next slide, please. So again, just a little reminder, what is pre-apprenticeship and what is registered apprenticeship? There are 5 main components to both of these. One is paid work experience. You must have an employer and an individual must be paid. 2, they get on the job learning. So what they are learning in the classroom must be applied. Skill mastery must be viewed and it must be on the job. So they're paid, they're doing the work that they are learning from, and then there's that classroom learning. So this, I know it sounds deceptively simple, but I can't tell you how many times we look at internships or different things, and you got engineers and they bring them in, they got them sweeping the floor or making coffee or doing this. Doesn't make any sense. So even though it sounds simple, sometimes it's not. Mentorship is probably going to be the most overlooked, but the best part about registered apprenticeship, that one-to-one person, not your employer, that you can go to seek counsel, to get advice, to walk you through. The mentorship is required. It is a big component of registered apprenticeship, and a lot of times we find it's one of the best things. And there's that credential, and really that goes right with that certified or registered, that each one of these, either whether it's a registered apprenticeship or a pre-apprenticeship, ends with a credential. For pre-apprenticeship, that's typically one of our promoted Indiana certifications, like you have with adult ed. And for registered apprenticeship, it is what we used to call a journeyman's card, but it is that national certificate that you can take anywhere in the nation that says you completed a federally approved program. And then finally is that rewards for skills gains. One of the things that we talk a lot about is, that this should be structured that as a person goes through a pre-apprenticeship or a registered apprenticeship, they're rewarded for that completion. So, hey, I completed these classes or these skills, or I completed this amount of time, they get a raise. So this is, again, registered apprenticeship is an investment in someone. It's not necessarily easy and it's not quick. It's really looking at building that pipeline and saying, these individuals come in, I'm going to invest in them, I'm going to mentor them, I'm going to take care of them, they're going to stay. And that's really important. Next slide. So again, I won't spend a lot of time on this. What are the benefits of RAPs and these types of programs, pre-apprenticeships, SEALs, the alignment, the guaranteed wages, the recruitment? It's one of those rare instances where everyone will win as long as they work together. The employer, the training provider, the individual. As long as everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, everyone is going to kind of get what they want out of this deal. So these can be reviewed later. I know I've probably gone over these before. Next slide. I want to kind of get to the meat and potatoes here of this. So there are benefits to registered apprenticeship that were on the last slide. There are also costs, and I want to take a little time to talk about that. One, intermediary versus sponsor. This is something that has been an issue that has come up time and time again. What's the difference between an intermediary and a sponsor? An intermediary helps build these programs. All of our workforce boards are intermediaries. We're an intermediary. We want to help build these programs. Our workforce boards are registered with the Department of Labor as intermediaries. I believe Ivy Tech is registered as an intermediary. They help build the programs. The sponsor is the owner. If I'm the sponsor, I decide the schedule, I decide what skills, I decide who the training provider is going to be, I decide the wage. I own the program. Okay. So the difference between an intermediary and a sponsor is pretty big. Sponsor is required to input the data into Rapids to track those apprentices. So that's just a key a key, vocabulary, a language there that sometimes people, oh yeah, we're an intermediary, or are you the sponsor? Or, oh, we're a sponsor. Well, no, you're an intermediary. Like, just making sure you distinguish between those two is key. And if we look at some of the costs here, mentoring can take time, and time is money for a lot of businesses. There is data entry. You have to, for registered apprenticeship, you got to decide between a time and a competency based. This is not a one size fits all kind of thing. There have to be changes. You have to tailor this to the individual employer often, and it's new, especially in education. This type of model is relatively new. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because education is very traditional in the United States, and it may be a good time to be thinking about that structure and how we want it to look. Now, that being said, there are 5 main areas that we're seeing a lot of interest. One is transitioning paraeducators into teachers. 2 is finding high school students and keeping them employed at a school as they go to college and become a teacher. We have some college students that, hey, if I don't make money, I got, a kid I got to feed. If I don't make money, I'm going to have to quit school and become, I want to be a teacher, but now I got to quit school and work a job because I got a family at home. I can't be a full-time student and not make a wage. We are seeing some interest in transition to teaching, people who already have bachelor's degrees, and veterans coming in. So I'm just going to focus really on 3 of those today. If you would, next slide. So what I want you to kind of do is think about this in phases. So phase 1, that pre-apprenticeship. For this one, for high school students, one of the great things that we've got. Oh, that's a good, I see the question pop up there. That's a good question. Right now, we are focusing on this for primarily elementary and middle school teaching, but this will expand. So you're looking at really just the beginning of this, and this will eventually, we're probably going to see this grow in a lot of other areas. Matter of fact, Purdue's already reached out because they are interested in more of a post-secondary instructor for like nursing and that kind of thing. So I think we're going to see this grow. But if you think about that pre-apprenticeship, again, letting them try before they buy, letting them get those skills, but also ensuring someone kind of knows what they're getting themselves into, especially in teaching. And again, we kind of go back to that high rate of people, hey, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and now I got 30 faces staring at me, and I don't know what to do. That's not good. So that first phase, we see that individual in that pre-apprenticeship would, in this case, it would be high school. So what we're planning on, and what we've been seeing school corporations do, is really bringing in high school students who have completed Ed Professions 1 and 2, or the principles and the 2 courses. And then after they've completed that, they've got their training, they start working in some of the elementary and middle schools, working in special ed, working on special projects, assisting with technology. There's actually quite a few things that teachers or counselors or administrators do that really a high school student with training could do when supervised. And so that's really, that can really take some of the pressure off of some of those duties of those 3 different groups. Phase 2, so once that person completes high school, they can take all those credits, all those dual credits they've earned. And if they've taken any Common Core credits, dual credits, they can transfer that all into, let's say, an Ivy Tech phase 2, which would be about the first year that they're working in the school as a college student. They can be, we recommend kind of rotating them around. They should be working towards their Para-Pro certification and their school safety training. They're getting used to it. They're understanding that school culture, what you say, what you don't say. They're getting adjusted. Then once they complete that, year 2 and 3, they go in as a full para educator. Okay, so they're following students, they're in those classrooms, they are doing that work. And during that time, they're going to use that TSAP and they're going to be going to a 4-year college or university. So with that TSAP agreement, though, they know they've only got 2 years left. So that's the beauty of this is they can take everything they've done in high school, everything they're doing in the community college, and take it right into the 4-year school. They will actually end still in 4 years with the bachelor's as a licensed teacher. But instead of just having 10 weeks of student teaching, this individual is going to have almost 8,000 hours of on-the-job training. So that first year of teaching, when it was me and I was in total survival mode, actually maybe the first 2 years, the goal is that this individual will have so much experience, classroom management won't be a problem. They're gonna know exactly what they need to do going into day one, which is different than what we've seen in the past. Not better or worse. I mean, again, we want to keep that 4-year program, but this is just different. And keep in mind, this entire time, they're making that what we hope is a living wage. Next slide, please. So this is more of that transition to teaching. One of the things that we know that sometimes happens is individuals, hey, I got a bachelor's degree in biology. I'd love to be a teacher. That's great. Sometimes just giving them an emergency license and first day, here you go on in, or a 2-week boot camp, sometimes that's not enough. So what we have here is, again, kind of that first and second semester, kind of working them in as a para, and guiding them through this, mentoring them, getting them in a more, because they've already got a bachelor's, in a much more accelerated schedule, getting them into that, and then starting them as a teacher. We really hope that this might better prepare those individuals. And again, you know, teaching is as much an art as it is a science, making sure that they really understand that whole ecosystem that surrounds education. Next slide. And finally, those para-educators. I was a teacher, a classroom teacher for 10 years and an administrator. I had some paras who had 60 credit hours for an associate's. I mean, they were they were a better teacher than I was. So getting them to transition, being able for them to keep that para position, work, and be able to take classes in the evenings or summers or however we want to schedule that. Again, working and learning, being able to do that and being able to maybe count some of that para education work they're doing for classroom credit, that's what's going to be key. Right now, we have about 5 or 6 different ones that are currently in development. Ball State is up and running with theirs in Hamilton County, and that is that high school model. Kokomo Ivy Tech is going to be a sponsor. They have also been approved, and they are going to do that high school community college into TSAP with Western Governors. Math Tracks is a kind of a for-profit group, but they just do math. They just focus on training and specialize in getting math teachers, because that's a tough area. Trine University is really, they are working on this transition to teaching one that we're really excited about. Great university there. And finally, University of Indianapolis Cell is working with some of the educational support centers that they will become the sponsors. And so that schools could really just buy in and say, yeah, I've got these individuals, I'm going to help buy in. And one of the benefits is once we get it registered apprenticeship, we open it up to some of those DOL dollars. So that's really what we want. We want not only people to make a living wage, not only do we want people to get these degrees and fill these open positions and help young people, but we also want to make it less expensive. There's, again, the less debt we can put teachers in, the better off we're going to be. So this is just a very, very short overview of kind of what's going on in this space. I just wanted to make you aware. This will be ongoing. I would love to be able to give you updates in the future, but I thought for adult ed, everyone would find this kind of interesting of what's happening. There is a big push from the Biden administration in this, and you know, I'd say I know for a fact there's going to be probably another $4 million grant next year from DOL for just teaching apprenticeships. So this is moving that direction. I, for one, think it's a good deal. I think it's a nice alternative. So, and again, if anybody has any questions or comments, or helpful suggestions, I am always open to that. So I think that's my last one there, Jerry.
Well, thank you very much, Jason. Appreciate all your good information, particularly with the teaching profession, which is near and dear to our heart as adult educators. Matt's
And I-
up next.
Oh.
Matt is up next. Matt, do you have any updates?
I do, Jerry. Good morning, everybody. Okay, first one. There was an update or a change they made to inters in the last couple of days that has affected the teacher views. All right, so if you go into the teacher record and you look at their login information, the passwords are blank. They're not really blank. And when you go to close and save, it's going to tell you the password is missing. Do not change, do not update, don't do anything with that. We are aware, we're working on it. He's looking at it right now. The change they made shouldn't have affected anything, but apparently they were wrong. So he's looking at it. Don't update your teacher passwords. They won't be able to log in. If your teacher forgets their password and can't log in, contact Anshu or I on Bomgar. We can see them in the management system to get them their passwords until this is fixed. So it's going to require you just cancel the save. Don't update teacher records currently. If you've got any questions about that, go ahead and jump on Bomgar and it should be fixed here by the end of the day, if not here in the next hour or two. Next thing, Jerry already mentioned it. The snapshots are done, so you can run the reports now, and I'm going to walk you through how to do that. You can run the reports now to see what your local program was credited for your snapshot. So if you are a fiscal agent for multiple programs, you can see all of those. You have access to all of that. You can see what your fiscal agent did. So everything is saved as a snapshot. So to do that, and it's for all of the NRS reports, you're going to go to the Reports tab. You're going to click on NRS tables, right? You're going to select the report that you want to run, and over on the report options for the audit type, make sure you select last year. It won't run for this year. On the audit type on the drop down, hit that, select snapshot. That will run that same report, that same number every single time. And those are the numbers that we used for the state to submit the Fed reports. One other thing that we have added that I didn't know about until the conference, and Steve pointed it out because I didn't even notice it because I just log in. On the login screen for everyone, in the window where you put your username and password, at the lower left-hand side, there's a little link that says AE Portals. Now, what was this for? That is a quick link to the AE Digital Attendance login page. So you don't have to save a website. You don't have to, you just save inters. Your teachers can click on this. They can log in, do that stuff. So there's one other one that is there. Don't click on it. Don't use it. You don't see it. But just so you have a quick link to your AE Digital Attendance, it's there. I got asked a question at the conference and after the conference in an email. Can teachers sign students in and out if they are there? If the teacher is verifying that the student is there, yes, 100%, the teacher can sign them in and out on their own. And yes, that counts as if the student signed in with their pen. Because at the end of the day, on all of it, it is the teacher's responsibility to say, yes, those students were there, and yes, those hours occurred when they sync it and accept it in. So that's that. This is also what we problem solved for Indiana Department of Corrections, because they don't have computers and they don't have any of the access, but the teachers do. So IDOC teachers can use the AE Digital Attendance and sign the students in and out manually, and that counts, and you don't have to do the paper pencil sign-in sheet. That's all I have, Jerry. Let us know if you have any questions, and please contact us on Bomgar. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Matt. Up next is Megan. Megan has HiSET, GED, Total Transcript, Diploma Center updates. Hello, Megan.
Hi, Jerry. Good morning, everyone. Next slide, please. So just to go over the pricing briefly, we've been getting a lot of questions about this, so I want to make sure everybody understands. When a student comes in to test and we are reimbursing you, we can only reimburse $120 per student. Once that student or once we reimburse for that student for $120, and for GED, the student will have to pay $10 to retake one test. They do have two tests where they would have to pay $10, and in the fourth attempt, they will actually have to pay $30. For high set, once you are reimbursed for $120 per student, then you would have to ask the student to pay you $23, and that's the maximum charge you can charge for a retake test. Next slide, please. For total transcript reminder, for task, the scores have to be 500 above, with an essay score at least a 2. High set scores must be an average of 9, with an essay score of 2 for writing, and in GED scores must be a 145. Please contact me if you have any questions or concerns. Something else I've been getting questions about too, just kind of a quick reminder. If you see a score in red on Diploma Center's database, that means it was flagged. That means they did not follow a policy either by the state or by the test vendor. We are not able to waive those. Next slide, please. Second quarter meeting. We were going to have a couple of meetings coming up. We hope you can join us. On October the 16th from noon to 1:30, Brian Smith will be on with GED to discuss testing in the jails, and this one will be recorded. We're going to have another meeting in case you're not able to attend on Monday on October 18th, also from noon to 1:30. Brian will be talking about the county jails as well. And then our testing center meeting for the state will be on November 13th, 11 a.m. to 12:30. So I will be sending out an agenda, but please try to make at least one of those meetings, if at all possible. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you very much, Megan. Up next is Jen, the Executive Director of IAACE. That conference was great, Jen. Great conference. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you did to make that conference successful, and all the adult educators, the conference committee. Wonderful conference. But I bet you're on sort of conference lit down at this point.
Conference brain is definitely over. Now it's all about the thank yous, and I will continue the thank yous. Next slide. To all of our partners, the volunteers, everyone that was a part of the conference truly is the reason why our conference is as successful as it is. So thank you. Now, we are sitting at like 22% of our attendees, which we had 371 attendees that have responded to the conference survey. And I would really like to at least get up to 25%. If we could get up to 50%, that would be fabulous. It does not take very much time at all. A couple minutes of your time. Just let us know what you want to see in the future. There's lots of spots for that. And that survey will be vital to the strategic plan, making sure that we plan well for our conferences in the future. So I just threw the link in the chat. Check it out, do that survey. And then if you're interested in the photos that were taken, for instance, of the awards and random other stuff, they are all posted on the Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/IAACE. And when you go to our page, there is a actual album called 2023 Conference. So you can check out all the pictures from there. And if you want to add pictures to it, which I know some of you have taken great pictures, just let me know and I'll add you as a contributor so that you can add to that album. Next slide, please. I want to shout out to all the organizations, all the adult education programs that participated in the retro video contest. It was kind of a last minute kind of history thing that we threw together. And so I greatly appreciate the efforts of Vincennes University, Warren, Hines, NEO, and Central 9 to put together their little retro videos. There was some dancing, there was some Pac-Man, there was all kinds of nice retro stuff. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for participating. Next slide, please. Whenever it comes to follow-up for the conference, a great place to follow up is the community on the virtual.iaace.com website. This is a great spot to continue conversations, but we've also shared, for instance, Dr. Glenda Rose provided all of her handouts to me, so I've shoved all of those out there. Kim Ratz provided all of his handouts. We've shoved those out there. Those are also on the keynote page on the website. But it's a great place to put everything. And there is stuff to come. The keynote recordings have to be edited. Something silly. They're in little bites. It's very strange. So we got to throw those in, but we will be putting those keynote recordings out. Hopefully by month end, we should be able to get those out there. So look for those. So if you remember, as a member, you can register for the virtual.iaace.com anytime. If you haven't done it, look on the website. There's a special link for it to register, or just virtual.iaace.com/register, and you can get in the know on the community page. Next up, something that I want to make sure we do is highlight the award winners yet again. I think they deserve all the spotlight. They deserve more attention. So Jerry talked about Rosalie Houghton at the very, very beginning. Excellent history. We recognized some of the other retirees there: Jeffrey Evans, Carol Roberts, Norma Wynn, and Robert Wilson, Ellen Wash Mullen. So congratulations to all of them. Next. Outstanding volunteer tutor went to Cameron Butler, does amazing things for the Broadview Learning Center. Next, the business partner of the year went to IKORCC. Hope Harp accepted it. Congratulations to them. Next, outstanding paraprofessional, Robin Upchurch with Ivy Tech. Next, outstanding new adult educator. She was actually surprised. Dinora Sapp with Broadview Learning Center. Next, outstanding adult educator, Danny Menkushu Shreve with Center Workforce Innovations. Congratulations, Danny. Next up, outstanding administrator, no one other than Miss Natalie Reuter with Warren County Community Schools. Next up, Everwise Meritorious Service Award went to Hank Cecil, instrumental in the ILA silent auctions. We'll have details on how that resulted soon too. Next up, outstanding adult learner went to Ian Stutz from NEO. He gave a great acceptance speech. Next up, and of course, the John Craddock Award went to no one else other than Jerry Hafner. So congratulations and spotlighting all of our award winners. Next slide. Now, what I want you nominators to do is, well, first off, let me say just congratulations to everyone. The actual entire award show is posted on YouTube. There's a link down there, and I can throw it in the chat after we get done. But next up, I want to make sure that all you nominators, next slide please, nominate for the COABE Awards that are going on currently. The deadline is November 15th. If you need your actual nomination form, it should still be in your email, but if you need help locating it, shoot me an email and I'll get it over to you. There is a COABE webinar this afternoon where they will tell you all about it and give you some helpful hints. But whenever it comes to the award winners, we have a long history of Indiana being recognized at COABE, but we also, it's not always the person that won our award. So I'll just throw that out there. We encourage everyone to nominate for the COABE Awards. Of course, they'll be announced at the COABE conference that's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. So super close to home. And you get, if you win, you get paid, your conference fee paid. So it's a no-brainer. So nominate, nominate, nominate. How many times do you have to hear it before you do it? I've always heard 5. I can't remember what Rob said earlier. So next slide, please. Whenever it comes to the advocacy committee, they have been working hard in making sure that they have a commitment to offer you the essay contest, the business partner recognition, and adult education day. So the essay contest has been released. We announced it at conference. Danny announced it for us. You can find all the details there at the link. Would really encourage you to invite your students, teachers, to make it a part of the regular lesson, make it a part of the class, each class. And the deadline is December 8th. That is actually on the website as well. Then the judges are currently being recruited or venturing out, and they have a great lineup. The advocacy committee came up with a great lineup of judges. Next up, the business partner recognitions are available too. There's a link there, the nomination for. Whenever it comes to the adult education date, go ahead and save that date. It's Tuesday, February 13th. Adrian Carroll, Denise Esslinger are your 2 co-chairs for that day. If you have any ideas, anything that you'd like to share on how we can improve that day, how you might want to get your legislators involved, reach out to those 2 ladies. They're listening. And of course, you can always join the advocacy committee and get in the know, and be a part of the decisions by being on that. So next up, please. Professional development. You've heard about a couple of these twice already. Rob mentioned his grant writing session that he's doing on Monday, November 6th. You can find all this information on the IAACE.com professional development. That includes the links to actually register. And then he, can't remember who it was, I guess it was Rob too, also talked about COABE's new full capacity marketing program. There's like 4 sessions. You can register. One of our already happened, but there's 3 more. You can register, and all of those are on the IAACE.com calendar of events page. Registration links are on there. Now, if you came to conference, you might remember that Craig Boykin had to cancel. His flight totally got canceled and he couldn't get out in order to present. So we've asked him if he would like to do something virtual, and he is willing. So he's going to do a kind of a combo of the 2 sessions that he was going to do at conference, just calling it a lunch and learn. He'll talk for, he said, maybe 30, 40 minutes, and then allow you guys to ask questions and just explore all of the materials that he would have presented at conference. So happy to bring Craig Bolkin on Friday, December 15th. There is a registration link for that as well on the professional development page. So take a look at those, and just heads up, yes, the keynotes will be delivered on the platform as well, and we will announce them on the professional development page as well. Next up, the strategic plan. We've talked about it at conference. Connie, our IAACE president, had presented you guys at the conference with a short paper survey, and they're going through all of those. But whenever it comes to the strategic plan, IAACE is about serving you, our members. And so we need your thoughts, your ideas, what you want us to focus on whenever it comes to advocacy. You know, what's important to you whenever it comes to professional development. Our future is our members, and therefore that's why I'm putting the board members up on the screen. You can find them all at iaac.com/ or board, contact us, reach out to any one of them. And they would be happy to listen to your thoughts, listen to your ideas, anything that you have when it comes to the strategic plan and what our forging the future should look like. So I encourage you to reach out to any board member in that. And then, of course, if you just go to the iaac.com strategic plan, we are still recruiting information about our vision. And stay tuned to that page as well as we begin our planning with our facilitator for our session that will be at the end of November. We will put more stuff out there to ask more questions of our members, but we want to know everything you want in that strategic plan. So please, I encourage you to reach out to any board member that is near you, or maybe a new one that you met at conference. And next up, all the reminders that are on the screen again. One thing I will encourage you to do if you want to receive iaace.com updates, we won't text anything crazy, 5 at the most per month. So once a week, we might notify you whenever there's something important been released. Advocacy alerts, of course, will be out there. We had several new members join the director's Facebook group at conference. So go ahead and scan that code and be a part. There is also a Facebook group for adult education in general, teachers. And if you want to help finding that, I can certainly help find out. One thing that I did forget to put on here is the book club. The book club, Melissa is our volunteer kind of book club person. She gave away the book that we're reading for Craig Boykin currently, and there will be a discussion on that book. We're just going to read a book a quarter, so take a look at all that. And I think that's it. Is that it, Jerry? Did
That
I
is
cover
it.
everything?
You covered it thoroughly. Thank
All
you
right.
very, very much, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. The next Adult Education and Statewide webinar is November 8th, 2023, beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So please have a good rest of your day. And Matt, were there any additional questions that we didn't answer during our presentations or in chat?
No, actually, Jerry, chat was very active today, and the questions got answered live and not at the end. So
Very
that's
good.
all I've got.
Okay. Well, have a great day, and November's right around the corner. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.